We've talked about it enough. We have no more questions, just answers. Alyssa Thomas is your MVP. What is up, Phoenix Mercury fam? We are live from Studio K, presented by Circle K, coming to you from beautiful downtown Phoenix. Don't let my Tucson and friends hear that too much, but beautiful downtown Phoenix. On a Friday morning, I almost said evening, I don't know what time of day or day of the week it is for that matter. We are coming off a mighty Mercury victory last night over the Chicago Sky, and you know, it was a great night. It's a great morning. We got Steven Pridgeon-Garner, PG1, QB1, on and off the field, in and out of the studio, on and off the court. I keep forgetting. I'm messing up the intro. It's like I'm reverting back to not knowing what I say. Steven, how the heck are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Last night was fun. It was a game that shouldn't have taken that much to get to that point. But slow starts happen. Figuring out how to, when things go off script, put them back on course and end up on the right side of the results, which they did, is as much of the battle as anything. Playoffs will be very much like that. You hope to not have a slow start, but things happen, especially in the playoffs with game planning and scouting and the magnitude of games and nerves and crowds being involved, and all of these things happen. So these experiences, while they could have been avoidable, are very much valuable nonetheless. And them, again, just figuring out how to get wins is the most important thing. It might not always look the way that they wanted to or that fans might want it to, but figuring it out is the separator. Minnesota doesn't always play games to a perfect script, but they figure things out. They out-execute their opponents. And that's something that the Mercury are obviously working towards, because that's a group in Minnesota and in New York that have been together for some time. But they're gathering their bearings and they're getting there. So impressed for sure. How about you? How you doing?
I was stoked, to be honest. It was a great win. And while it was I was kind of happy to see a close game, to be honest with you, because the Mercury does have a little bit of an easier schedule to wrap up the end of their season comparatively. Like I was looking at the Wings schedule yesterday. So sorry to the Wings fans, because that is a disgusting last 5 games. But the Mercury, like, they don't have as challenging of an uphill battle. Obviously, they do have New York coming this Saturday, but to see them kind of get tried a little bit here at the end of the season when they're not necessarily playing their best or worst basketball that we've seen all season and still finding a way to win the game is as optimistic as you can leave me at the end of a game like that. And to be honest, like, we're going to get into the specifics as far as players and things like that go, but like the points in the paint thing is actually what really like left me feeling super optimistic last night. You know, we even talked about it on Monday's show about, you know, the bigs and the playing and the rotations, and it's been a popular topic of discussion surrounding the Phoenix Mercury, but they were able to maybe not win the rebound battle, but they were able to hold their own in a paint versus a really large team that does their, you know, roles well. Like the Twin Towers are no small feat to defeat on the inside and interior. So I feel like it was a great game. Obviously, we're going to talk about Mack Truck's double-double, but it was just it was one of those games where they proved to be able to win games in different ways than they maybe have in the past, 38 games or whatever we're at now. So it left me feeling very optimistic.
Yeah, one of the big things that I tried to emphasize in Tuesday's episode with the defensive numbers that we talked about, was that this team takes away the three-point line as well as any other team in the W. At the time of that recording, they were second in defensive three-point field goal percentage. And I also talked about them protecting the rim in multiple different ways, doing so very well. Last night against the Chicago Sky, a team that spends a lot of time in the paint, they gave double-checking the number, 28 points in the paint to the Chicago Sky yesterday. Only 28 points to a team that spends about the third or second most time in the post and does so in a variety of different ways with two very different talents And if you add Elizabeth Williams to that mix,
Mm-hmm.
a third different talent that spends a lot of time in the paint and in the post, to be that well prepared, and then to also go out and execute. Again, a team that is second in points conceded in the paint per game, only giving up 33 points a game in the paint per average or on average. That's second best in the W. That's not by accident. And when you get to this point in the season, the numbers are often who your team truly is, and there's not much time that you can kind of recourse and try to adjust those things. You either have to accept it or find a way to minimize that impact. But obviously, if you're second in points allowed in the paint for a team that's only playing one traditional center, that says a lot about the rest of your defense and your general defensive process.
Well, and I want to start with our traditional center because, you know, friend of the program, Natasha Mack, honk, first career double-double last night. I was laughing because she was at 10 points and 9 rebounds for like literally 25 minutes, it felt like. And it was just inching by. And I'm watching the stats. I'm looking down. I'm looking at the history stats. I'm like, all right, is there a double-double before this? You know, like, am I missing something here? And then when she gets that 10th rebound, like, you could just feel the let out in the media row because we were all amped for her, you know, and I asked her about it at the end of the game, and she talked about her confidence level. And, I mean, we've been talking about that this season, but something else that I think is, you know, I was talking to a reporter that was next to me that doesn't cover the Mercury, you know, like we do. Like they see the Mercury, they see what they're doing, but they're not watching every single game like us. And like I was explaining to him that, you know, Natasha Mack, I don't think last season ever expected to have the role that she had last year when you are coming on with BG and then BG breaks her foot. And now suddenly your entire future with this team is like basically flipped on its head. And in a good way, I guess, for Mack in some ways, and it, you know, opened up a lot of opportunity for her. But, you know, it definitely threw her to the wolves last season. And she played extremely well. She held her own, especially in those early games. You know, they played the Aces. Like, I think the very first game that Mack had to start was against the Aces. And I think she had 4 blocks in that game. So, you know, she's been playing at a high level. But her off season in Spain, the conditioning that came with that, and like heavy on the conditioning piece of it, I am a wholehearted believer that she is the traditional center that gets the opportunity to play simply because she can run the floor as fast as everybody else there, which for the style of basketball that they want to play is so, so important. And then on top of it, and maybe I'm wrong, Steven can probably let, you know, us know one way or the other, but like last night I do feel was one of the best Natasha Mack defensive performances we've ever seen. And yeah, the 5 blocks should be 6. She was robbed, but the 5 blocks are loud. But it's everything else that she was doing that was even louder to me. And she was quicker in filling in the gaps than I think she's ever been last night. She was making her rotations in the right way. And it allows everybody else to fill their defensive roles that much better when she is filling the gap quicker and getting back to her person faster. And so, you know, Natasha Mack is I don't even want to say finding her role because her role has been found. She is coming into it and, you know, as well as she possibly can. I'm sorry, I should probably have Kevin throw up the stat graphic on the screen for us, but she did finish with 10 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 5 blocks, which is left off of there, but that's okay because I'll have Kevin change it. And yeah, this was just an absolutely incredible performance from Natasha Mack.
It was. Been singing Mack's praises all season long, and it's been a buildup from what it was to start the season to the injury, the untimely injury happening in preseason that put her out for about a month, close to a month and some change. And then she comes back and she incrementally works her way back into game shape and game rhythm more than anything. And the impact immediately gets back to what it was, which is why she had garnered the attention to be looked at as the potential starting center for a team that has championship aspirations. Now, teams have centers that play different roles, but generally speaking, if you're playing the starting center position for a team that has championship desires, you have to be a major plus and the value adder to the defensive end of the floor, or you have to be an absolute all W level center in terms of your offensive production. Obviously, with Mack, it's a whole lot more of the former than the latter. She finds ways to add value on the offensive end, which we'll get to momentarily. But generally speaking, she got the attention for this role and got the buy-in from Nate, as well as Nate getting the buy-in from her because of the realization of what she can be and what she has been this entire season for the team on the defensive end of the floor. Sometimes it's rim protection. Sometimes it's just showing help at a timely moment to where a drive doesn't even happen that would have happened if she wasn't in tune with what was going on, and her plugging things up from there, leaving it from a shot even being taken. Sometimes she's actually blocking shots. Sometimes she's just playing solid defense in the post. Doesn't always come with the block, won't show up on the box score, but does that mean the impact wasn't there? Nope. The impact is still there. And the fact that she had the impact on the game defensively that she did yesterday, while being able to switch at times, while being able to hedge out and then get back to her matchup and doing so in sync with the rest of the defense so that the shell stays intact. And just being solid in the post without fouling. Again, the biggest thing for me with Mack has been her confidence. But in addition to that, the Macktivity side of it, you can't be who she is at her best if she's not bringing the activity. It's defending without fouling and being able to understand discernment on what Michael Joyner, assistant coach Michael Joyner, called intelligent aggression. Is understanding when to use that and how to do that without fouling. Because what good is your activity defensively if it's always leaving you on the bench because you're in foul trouble? It has no impact at that point. And the fact that she's understood that part and she's been out of foul trouble all season, she hasn't flirted with foul trouble, if not one time at all this entire season. And for as often as they've depended on her, and for all of the things that I broke down in the film session that came out last week, in the ways that she adds value past just blocking shots, she's the exact type of center that this team has needed comprehensively.
Well, and I wanted to point out one other thing that she said last night, and it was absolutely the funniest thing she's said all season, which is really saying something considering she might be the funniest person on the team. But she's like, if they're coming in the paint, I'm either going to block it or I'm going to foul. Mm-hmm. I'm going to send it out one way or the other. Whether I get the whistle or not is up to them. But it's just, when she's out there with that type of determination, mm-hmm. she's a different type of player. And she's been in a different state of mind this year. You can really tell that, yeah, the buy-in was there last year, don't get me wrong. But like this year, she understands her role so much better than she ever could have last season. And you're seeing the fruits of her labor in real time. And I saw tweets all over my timeline last night. Like, she is future all defensive first team, like very much so. Mm-hmm. So, familiarize yourself with her game. I want to get to these super chats real quick because we got 2 of them already, just off rip. Start off with Maria Dior Lawson with $4.99. Can't stay for long, but sending to show support for Mercury and your phenomenal team covering this season. Thank you, Maria. We really, really appreciate that. We couldn't do it without you guys. And
Maria's one of the MVPs of the diehards.
Period. Sure. And then my guy, Classic Stang Lover, $1.99. AT for MVP. Is that what I'm supposed to say, Erika? My guy, Classic Stang Lover, is a DLLS diehard, mm-hmm. and I've got them trained. And like I said, I wish you could have seen my eyes light up when she said, "Oh, I'm a voter." Oh my God. I was like, I've risen from the dead. Suddenly I'm very excited for this show and I have a lot to talk about. And it's not at all involving the Dallas Wings. So I apologize to the DLS Wings podcast for pushing my agendas on every day that ends in Y. But the other part of last night's game, and this is like the loudest offensive part of the...
one more quick thing before we go from that. So it's 352 minutes spent on the floor with Alyssa Thomas when they've both been healthy and in the lineup this season. They have a defensive rating of 97.9. That is 0.2 per 100 possessions off of what would be the best defense in the W, which is the Minnesota Lynx, of course. So for perspective on how effective and how impactful Natasha Mack's defense is, because their perimeter defense is so good, because of the other defenders that she has around her, she's able to be her absolute best self. That's not by mistake at all. She's doing exactly what she needs to do.
She's that girl for real.
Yeah, she's doing it. And the confidence part is more than anything what's really stood out. The confidence has allowed for her to show her emotions a whole lot more than being reserved like she was in seasons past. She's very much grown into herself, and it's been fun to watch it happen for sure.
And even like last night when they were asked about, do you hear the Hong Kongs? Yeah. And Ka's like, yeah, she hears them. She hears them.
My favorite is when she syncs it up with
with the PA. I'm like, okay, hype me up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I needed that. Inject that into my veins.
That's right, because she earned it.
She did.
She earned it.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it last season. Don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
this season has just been different with
It has
Mack.
been. And
yeah.
you can't win a championship without having high level role players, and that's exactly what she's been for this team. And honestly punched out of her proverbial weight class for her role last season with putting up 10 points.
Yeah.
She's not expected to get 10 points, but when she does it, because of the way she gets extra efforts on the offensive boards and cuts and things like that, it becomes too much for a team to account for when they're trying to take other things away from the Mercury.
Yeah, I'm like, have fun with Sammy Whitcomb if you're going to be doubling my girl Mack. Have fun, because she's going to make you pay for it every time ending Y. But Kahleah Copper, 28 points on her birthday. I don't want to say this was her best performance of the season because she obviously had 33 versus the Wings earlier this year. And I believe she had a game in Chicago that was also good, pretty good. But I don't think she scored more points necessarily, but I think it was obviously closer to her return from injury, so it felt like, oh my God, Ka's back. But this night, to me, it felt like the most comfortable that Kahleah has looked this entire season. Her cutting was, especially to start the game, like when the Mercury were cold and they couldn't get anything going, at least Ka was still cutting to the basket. And it's been a proven recipe for success for them. So, you don't want to fix what's not broken. So, the 28 points from Kahleah Copper last night were extremely loud. Happy birthday to her. And happy birthday to those points, I guess. She joins as the only WNBA player in league history to score 20 or more points on their birthday. And, well, the other one is Diana Taurasi. So, elite company. Obviously, the Mercury must be doing something right on birthdays. But then on top of it, you got the whole squad dressed up. And I was telling Kevin, like, when I saw Nate Tibbetts walk out in that suit, I was like, oh, Merc by 500. Like, and granted, that's not exactly how it played out, Merc by 5. But, nonetheless, we'll take what we can get. A dub is a dub. Like, and so, yeah, I mean, I think head coaches, first of all, should wear suits again. You don't think so?
Is it Wall Street?
He just looks so cool.
I mean, it's cool to change it up every once in a while, but it's basketball.
And then Kahleah was like, I want him in the suit again. And you know what? What Kahleah wants, Kahleah gets. That's why he was in the suit in the first place.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, and so then Kahleah got at him. She was like, thank you with her 28 points.
She also said she was mad at him post-game.
Did she say why?
Nope. And we probably won't find out. Would love to find out, but we probably won't.
I wonder if it has to do with like a water bath or like, Gatorade or something. Well, I guess they don't drink Gatorade. Powerade. No free ads. My bad, Max.
It's definitely something. I'm curious what it is, but that was funny to hear. Asked about the compliment about Nate dressing up and the media responses. I'm mad at him. Yeah,
but she's funny with it. I feel like last night was the best mood we've seen her in all year. And she just, and then on top of it, the game she had, how can you be mad? It was a fun game to watch from Kahleah.
It was. She's doing some things this season. And it hasn't been maybe as loud as it would be if she hadn't had the kind of in and out nature of the early portion because of injury. But she's at her best right now in terms of her entire career. Now she wants to sustain that going into the playoffs, but if you're looking at how she's playing to the role that this team needs her to play to, I talked about coming into this season, they need for Kahleah's 3-point shooting volume and the efficiency that she did see last season to sustain, and that they also needed Satu's 3-point volume and the efficiency that she had last season to sustain. Kahleah has 22 games played this season. She's knocked down 2 or more threes in 14 of those 22 games. And even more so, if you look at the games that she's had where she's knocked down more than 2, she has 5 games where she's knocked down more than 2 threes. And the Mercury are 3-2 in those games, but her scoring impact in those games, 25 against Golden State, knocked down 5 threes. 33 against Dallas, and she knocked down 4. 25 and 28 against Chicago, respectively, each of the last 2 times that they played last night and the time before that. She knocked down 4 threes in both of those games. And then the last one being against Vegas, against Vegas. She only had 15 in that game, but she knocked down 3. She's doing the things that this team and operating the ways that they need her to on the offensive end of the floor, and she's bringing that activity and energy, but also the leadership part is the loudest part within all of it. I know it was the kind of hot word in training camp and whatnot because she's naturally the longest tenure player along with Max, so that's going to come with things, especially if you're the franchise player. But little things like yesterday, wanting everybody to switch up the vibe some, breaking up the mundaneness of a 44-game season. Things can get stale at times. Things can get a little bit too rhythmic at times. Being able to break that rhythm up and have some fun while doing it, and her spearheading that on her birthday, very much a direct example of leadership. It's not going to always look the same from multiple people, but it's going to hit when it does. And the fact that she did so and found a way to have that impact for the team, and then was also the piece that brought them out of that rut that was the early portion of last night's game. That first quarter was one that, against most teams, they would have been down by 20 to 25 points at the end of that quarter. They were not playing well defensively or offensively in that quarter. However, you get to the second quarter of yesterday's game, and I'm double-checking to make sure I'm speaking correctly. Kahleah Copper comes out, knocks down 2 threes, has 10 points. Also has 2 steals. They don't get to reversing the ties and the trend of that game without her doing what she did. And, again, the timeliness of it. Team was in a rut. They need one of their best players to step up, and that's exactly what she does. Not necessarily clutch by definition, but without it, they don't win that game.
Right.
Without it, they don't even get back into vying position because they were in very dire straits.
Yep.
So I want to make sure that she's appreciated for the season that she is having, even if it's not career best marks across the board, largely because of the injuries that she's been working through all season long. But honestly, it feels like now she's turned that corner and she's starting to sustain and understand what her role is with the team in addition to being healthy. And that's the best version of Kahleah. That's the best slasher in the WNBA.
Well, and I think she's also really gotten used to the personnel she's playing alongside with, which I think is a huge piece of it. We've talked about it at length about how different it is to play with or without Ka, but same thing goes with AT and Satu, and for that matter. Or we could go down the laundry list. Sammy Whitcomb, quickest shooter in the league. Like, you have to know your personnel, and she has very much found her comfortability again. We've talked about her being a rhythm player, and she's found her rhythm, and she almost every night it feels like she's the first Mercury player to strike on the offensive end, which is always what you want. I feel like she's Nate's favorite button to press in terms of scoring. And so when you get that button hot early, Nate is just going to be Kahleah happy all night. And then next thing you know, AT's got 18 assists and all of them are to Kahleah Copper for open threes. Like, it's just, that's how it can go when things work out the way they're supposed to for this team. And so when you have Kahleah in the mentality that she's in, with the leadership edge that she's got, and now she's come out and she's decided, not only am I in charge, I'm the franchise player, I'm also going to score first. You're going to have to stop me. And, you know, it's a pretty hard stop to get. She's got one of the quickest steps in the league, and she is physical at the rim. Like, ask all the Chicago Sky players from last night. I'm sure they will write letters home to you about what a physical player Kahleah Copper is. And so, you know, it's definitely been a pleasure to watch her find her comfortability again. But that rhythm piece of it all, like, I hate to say it, but like, you know, when they went through that 7-game win streak earlier this season, like, I wasn't worried about them peaking at the wrong time necessarily, especially due to the injuries that were plaguing them at that time. But like, I was a little worried. I was like, dang, they're playing really good basketball. Like, how can it get better than this? You know what I mean? How does it improve? But when you have Kahleah operating in the space that she's operating in right now, I mean, it literally doesn't get better than that.
It does not. It doesn't. And that's what this team was made to do. You have to worry about everything that is Alyssa Thomas and all of the different actions that they run where she's the primary decision maker, which naturally puts Kahleah in a position to be that elite play finisher that she is. Cutting, drives to the basket, attacking closeouts. All of those things are a perfect kind of hand in glove fit to everything that Alyssa Thomas is, because Kahleah thrives when she's off the ball. Obviously, she can do things as a primary creator, especially in the getting downhill nature of it all, but it's the hand in glove fit of the pieces for this big three that make it make sense on paper and in a literal sense in watching, when they're understanding the way that each other is playing and putting forth that. And we're starting to see, again, the game process for them is turning corners. It's not looking the same every game, and that's what you want.
Right.
That's what you want. The way that they close out the game against Chicago is different than the way that they close out against Golden State. It's different than the way that they close out against Seattle. I mean, for crying out loud, last night in the clutch, Natasha Mack was on the floor. Well, and they don't usually go to that specific lineup to finish games. Being able to finish and do those things in different ways is what this end of the season stretch is about. This is why, again, not speaking at anyone directly, but just the general thought that the lineups need to be at 10 or 12 players, it gets too flooded and it's not enough that you can learn to then extract and understand how to apply when the moments matter most. And we have clutch numbers that we're getting to later on in the show, but you don't get to this point in them figuring things out and doing so with winning without condensing things and forcing this specific 8 or 9 player faction of the rotation to figure it out.
Before we get to the ad break, I do want to have one little mini conversation with you in all of this. And I've tried to Google the rules of it real quick, but I couldn't get them quick enough. 6th man of the year, DeWanna Bonner, is that even a possibility because of the way that the season worked out?
I think, and this is me not speaking directly on the rule, but I believe you have to spend a certain portion or percentage of your minutes or games played off the bench. And she hasn't started but one game, I think, this season for the Mercury. And obviously she wasn't really starting with.
I think she started their first game of the season, maybe. But then after that, I think she moved to the bench.
So I can double check that real quick right now to make sure we're speaking accurately. But I believe it's percentage.
Well, and if you've been watching the Mercury games, then you know that she's got just as much of a part of that 6th player of the year conversation as anyone else. And, I could talk about her scoring and what it's meant to the Mercury since she's joined the Mercury before the All-Star break. But last night, her 5 steals, her deflections completely changed the course of the game over and over and over again. And 5 is probably a little light, with just the deflected passes that ended up being steals for somebody else. And then on top of it, they completely robbed her of a block. I'm 99.999% sure my girl had a block yesterday, and that says 0, and I don't appreciate the lies. So that means they probably did break the record for steals and blocks, but the league, the recorder, I guess, didn't work that late last night.
Oh, she had 5 steals,
which is still crazy. Don't get me wrong.
And I think depending on some of the other plays that happen, sometimes that exchange where someone's going into a shot and someone strips it, it's kind of the definition is not. It's not definitive. It's left up to correct
the record
and that leaves to things being a little. Unsure at times. It's a little subjective, but
I don't really like that.
But to the DeWanna point, she started 3 of 9 games played with the Indiana Fever, and she started 1 of 19 with the Phoenix Mercury. So
she could have a bit at the.
She'll be firmly, heavily involved, and we'll get into quick numbers on her as a 6th player of the year candidate afterwards, but. She's very much.
I just wanted to make sure that I'm not barking up the wrong tree with that one, because seems like
she's in that conversation.
It seems like a tree worth us barking up.
She's in that conversation. She won't start for this team the rest of the season. They have other pieces that they would probably start to keep her role consistent.
Yeah.
So yeah, she'll by the end of the season she'll be more than eligible, I believe.
Period. Okay. Yeah. Well, the Phoenix
Mercury for her 3rd, 4th, 6th player of the year.
It's 3rd, I think, but maybe it's 4th.
We'll get into it after the ad break.
Yeah. Well, we got a few different conversations to have. One about the defense, clutch numbers, DeWanna Bonner 6th player of the year. Heck, maybe even a little more MVP conversation, because this has been the only episode in 3 weeks that I haven't brought up Alyssa Thomas's MVP. So all that and more after this quick break here on the PHNX Mercury podcast. Mountain America Credit Union, my good friends over there. Everyone needs a checking account. I have one. Steven has one. Kevin probably has a few. I don't know.
Kevin big balling, so he got to divide his money up.
Yeah, it's all the extra money he gets from the Teeny Mate collections and things like that. It's tough. He's got to really keep it all in one place. He needs to cut down and get back to the my style lifestyle.
He got tired of putting it under his mattress.
Get the checking account with built-in benefits. Mountain America's My Style checking account has just the perks for you. You can enjoy restaurant deals. Oh my goodness. Mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers and travel and events, and so much more. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership is required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration or activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. I'm going to be driving to Phoenix. This is the 2nd time in 3 days. Tomorrow will be the 3rd time in 3 days. And if it wasn't due to our good friends over at Circle K, it would honestly not be possible. The Inner Circle Rewards program, literally, this is the only reason I'm able to afford the gasoline it takes to be as committed to the Mercury bit as I am. It's crazy. It takes a lot. It's a lot of dedication, a lot of Polar Pops, a lot of Frosters. But you know what? My good friends over at Circle K, they make sure I'm taken care of. I get the discounts on the fuel. I get the discounts on the Polar Pop. I get the discounts on the Frosters. I even get the discounts on the snacks, dude. They keep it rolling with the coupons. And when you join, you're going to get 25 cents off a gallon on your first 5 fill-ups at Circle K. And then boom, you're in the 3 cent off club, just like, well, actually all of us are in the 5 cent off club. So you'll be in the 3 cent off club for just a little bit. You'll work your way up into the 5 cent off club. Boom, there you are. You're just like me, Kevin, and Steven. But then on every 4th visit to the Circle K, you're going to get 25 cents off a gallon again. And then when they have fuel days, you're thrown in the bunch on that. You're going to get a text message to let you know, hey, there's 40, maybe 60 cents off fuel today. Be sure to stop by the Circle K and get your fuel. Literally, it's the best deal since sliced bread. Like, whoever came up with the Inner Circle, thank you. You are my best friend. Join the Inner Circle just like me for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Woo-wee, boy. Okay, did you find out about Dawana?
Mm-hmm.
Period. What numbers you got for us?
So she is tied for points total off the bench this season in 3rd with Marine Johannes. Only with Dana Evans, tied for 3rd with Dana Evans for points off the bench this season. So looking at the games played number, which is very important with this, Dawana has played 24 games off the bench this season. 24. Natasha Heidemann has played 38 games off the bench. She has 41 more points than DB. Only 41 points more. Dominique Malonga, who's really been coming on of late, has 298 points in 39 games played this season off the bench. So looking at the games played number, Dana Evans has played in 39 games. Dawana is significantly less in games played off the bench this season and is already in the realm of each of these players that are either tied with or ahead of her in total points off the bench. Now, in addition to that, taking that games played number, only 24 games played from Dawana Bonner. I want to continue to emphasize that. She has 11 more free throws made. She has 11 more free throws made than second place. She's basically tied with Aaliyah Edwards, who's played in 6 more games than her off the bench this season for free throw attempts. And obviously, she's knocking down a lot of her free throws. She's at 90.1% this season. These are not like happenstance numbers. These are impact numbers. And Dawana is exactly what this team needed in multiple capacities. The fact that she's in the realm of being the best at multiple numbers for players in games played off the bench and playing significantly less games than almost everybody. I mean, what more can you say for a 6-player type of impact number or impact type of award being involved in those conversations?
And to be having as much fun as they're having while they're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Between AT's ponytail bouncing in the wind and Dawana's smile as she's running up and down the court, waiting for the lob.
Threes,
I mean,
knocking down all the corner threes. Yeah.
It has been, it's almost like the most fun basketball team I've ever seen play. Like, and you can tell they just love each other and they love hooping together and they want to win together. And, you know, I talked about it yesterday, actually, on the DLS Wings pod. Like, a lot of the teams that are in the Mercury's position right now, and I mean literally like the top 6 teams, like, they recognize that they don't have forever with this roster. With the way that the CBA is happening, the expansion drafts, and literally everything that's going on outside of their team, they are not going to have forever to get it done with this squad. And so they recognize the intention laid out in front of them. You know, Kahleah Copper talked about last night the countdown that they've had to the finals and like what that's meant to the team to have something to work toward.
Urgency.
Yeah, and you know, and it's written all over their faces. Even after a big win last night, where last night was a close game, and they definitely obviously all wanted to win. They're planning to go out to a big dinner afterwards. They don't want to go after a lose or a loss, but at the same time, like, they come out, they recognize their role, and they recognize if they lose last night, like, that's not beating the Chicago Sky is not the ultimate goal that they have for the Phoenix Mercury in 2025. And they all recognize that. And I guess we should start talking about the defense. I think, is that a graphic that?
Let this last number be the transition point to get to the defense.
Let's do it.
This one's going to make you laugh.
I'm scared.
24 games played again for DeWanna Bonner off the bench this season. She is tied for second, or she's actually tied for third, in steals. First place, Emily Angsler played 35 games off the bench. She has 27 total steals. Teammate on the Mercury, Lexi Held, is number 2 in steals off the bench with 23 total. Number 3, DeWanna Bonner, tied with Jewel Lloyd and Natasha Heidemann in steals off the bench total this season with 22. Yeah, it's impact. Impact, how do you help to build lineups for your team? How do you unlock things for your team? Are you closing for your team? DeWanna's closing all of these games for the Mercury. She's very much a piece that's integral and was that upon being brought to the team.
Well, and it kind of it lends itself to the conversation about the historic defensive night that the Phoenix Mercury had last night.
Yep.
Kevin, if you want to bring up this graphic real quick. 28 total stocks, which is tied for the most in WNBA history. That's 11 blocks and 17 steals last night. 20 total turnovers forced on, I guess, by the Mercury on the Sky. I said that right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Period. But yeah, I mean, and it was a team effort. And yeah, we've talked about, DeWanna's 5 steals, Max 5 blocks, but literally the only person on the team without a steal is Catherine Westbeld. And the only person without a block is Monica Cole-McConney. And because, again, my girl DeWanna Bonner was robbed. There's, a record-keeping situation there. That's fine. But, like, it was a by-committee defensive effort, which is exactly what we've been talking about all season. And when you can get the job done like that with everybody contributing something, even big, we oftentimes talk about like things that don't show up in the stat sheet for defense, but these all are very measurable, things, tangibles that you can see on the stats. And when you're doing it by committee like that, it definitely just lends itself to how can you lose the game when you're playing as a team like that?
Yeah. When they got comfortable defensively in that second quarter stretch where Kai started to get it going scoring and they kept their defense
and DeWanna
set.
was just like this the whole quarter.
And it was deflection after steal, after errant pass, after deflection, after ball thrown out of bounds because the Sky aren't on the same page because of the pressure that's being applied to them defensively. And again, they're compounding these possessions one after another, after another, after another. It grows too much for teams to kind of try to overcome. And once they get a grip on the game's tempo and the game's rhythm, and the game is being played on their terms, stemming from their defense always, they get hard to beat. Kevin, if we could get the graphic back up one more time. So one thing that I had noted that I want to bring up is the 28 stocks, because I need for that number to be like understood. It's only been done 2 other times. That's not.
And wasn't one of them last year, I believe?
One of them was last year by the Chicago Sky against the Dallas Wings, I believe. So like these type of statistical feats that this team is putting together on the defensive end of the floor this season it's really special. And again, for a team that said coming into this season that their identity and their culture was being established in the post Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner era on defense, first, second, and third. Having these types of feats that you have under your belt to show as identity stamping marks across the season says a lot. Now, in addition to that, I have some other numbers that I wanted to bring up just for context purposes. So this was the 5th time that the Phoenix Mercury have forced 20 or more turnovers this season. They're 4-1 in those games. The only game that they lost was on June 3rd when there was no Mack, there was no Copper, there was no AT, and DeWanna Bonner wasn't on the team yet when they were, I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd game of a road trip in Minnesota.
That was the most depressing game of the year for me.
It was depressing, but the fact that they forced the Minnesota Lynx, that team that was healthy at that time, into 20 turnovers. That's their most in the season, by the way. The most turnovers that Minnesota has this season is 20. And to that point, for Minnesota, for the Washington Mystics, for the Indiana Fever, and for the Las Vegas Aces, do you know what those 4 teams have in common when they've gone against the Phoenix Mercury at some point this season? Kevin, do you have a guess at this one by any chance? We're talking about defense. What do the Lynx, the Mystics, the Fever, and the Aces have in common against the Phoenix Mercury this season is that they have their highest turnover number because of their defense. That's not by accident. That's a team that understands its identity, that plays to it, and when they do so, and they play with the different types of pressure they can put on opponents, they have an opportunity to beat anybody regardless of where the game is taking place and when it may be taking place. To the point for turnovers, 14-3 when they forced 16 or more turnovers this season. That's a number that they can get to consistently, and if they're going to get to the finals and ultimately win it all, which is what this roster was built for, you have to force turnovers. You have to apply pressure to your opponents in different ways. They have the personnel to do it, like we broke down on Tuesday's episode. It's just a matter of if they're pressing the right buttons over the course of games, and last night was a direct example of that.
Yeah. Before we get to the clutch, because I feel like this is a very important conversation we got to have, I do want to have a conversation about Nate Tibbetts because I feel like the defensive end of this, he's been plugging and playing all year and trying to figure out what works. And we've been talking about it, about how, the reality is that the same buttons are not going to work all the time, and he has to figure out which buttons he needs to press and when is the right time. And I feel like last night was the most complete game from him that we've seen, where he's making in-game adjustments in real time that make real impact and flip the story that we're watching unfold in front of us. And if you follow the PHNX_Mercury on Twitter, you would know that Nate Tibbetts was absolutely on one last night with his one challenges because I didn't really think he was going to win that second one. I'll be honest with you. I saw AT do a little elbow. I was like, oh, squad about to lose the timeout, and that's okay with me. He won the first one, we'll suffer. But no, I mean, I am of the opinion that last night was the most complete performance we've seen from him in terms of schematics and making the subs at the right times and making in-game adjustments. I was just curious for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's relevant because the team can figure things out with the lineups on the floor, but it's not their choice in what lineups are being used. And that comes back to coaching. That comes back to understanding your group and understanding, again, which buttons to press. What good is having a bunch of buttons to press if you don't know which to press depending on what a game is or what an opponent may be demanding from your team to get over the hump or give them a problem to solve? So I think you said that perfectly. And that, again, goes back to the condensing of the rotation. You can't have too many options because if you don't, especially because they didn't get healthy until the last 14 games, 15
how many times
games.
they went to Lexi held early in the season to close out. And listen,
Exactly.
I literally when he said that steal number, I was like, oh man, I kind of miss Lexi, not going to lie. But, and I do still.
And she'll have
opportunities.
She will have multiple moments, whether it be down the home stretch or come playoff time, where she randomly gets her number called.
And boom. Lexi for 3.
She knows what she's coming in for, and she's going to play her role to a T.
Yep.
But that, again, comes back to a coach understanding this is a moment that's asking for Lexi Hill's impact. This is a moment that's asking for Kat Westbell's impact. This is a moment that's asking for the DeWanna Bonner impact.
Yep.
And playing to that accordingly. Natasha Mack the same.
Yeah, and Ghost, I hear what you're saying about hard to win, like hard to offer a praise after losing against a bottom 3 team. Or winning against a bottom 3 team. I hear you, but like when you have 13 teams and parity is what it is, and parity is in the WNBA right now, like any team can win on any given night. Just ask the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx for that matter. But the Chicago Sky, it's not even the win that we're talking about, actually. It's the way in which they got the win that is impressive after what we've seen from the Mercury so far this season. Like, they have had trouble closing out games. Not as much trouble as last year's team, that's for darn certain. But they have had issues with that. And so, like, I hear what you're saying, but, like, a win is a win. And when you're winning in the clutch in big moments and you're able to close out in the way that they were, especially after the last 2 close games that the Mercury have been in, where it's literally ended in a late game turnover for the Mercury, you have to be enthralled about a clutch victory without a late game turnover. They didn't even need a late game timeout to like call plays. Like, they literally just stayed out there, did their thing, and got the dub and went home. Well, they didn't go home, they went out, but nonetheless, like a clutch victory is a clutch victory. So without further ado, I think we should get into this clutch graphic that our guy Kevin's cooked up. Steven, you want to walk us through this?
Yeah, so wanted to bring this up because come playoff time, come these moments where you're going up against teams that are of the upper echelon, on the same level as you, or maybe a step ahead of you in terms of how much time they spent together and what their record might be. You're going to have to figure out how to get things done when the game turns into a game within the game, and that's the final 5 minutes of a game that is a point differential of 5 or less. And these are games, this is how the playoffs are going to be. There's not going to be many or any blowouts. Even if you do have some shooting anomalies or turnover anomalies, games are going to be close. Figuring out how to just get it done is as important as anything else, because that's something you can always bank on. If you can only do it one way and that one way isn't working for that game, if you're a 3-point heavy team and your 3 ball is not falling, what else can you fall back to? That comes back to the defense for the Mercury. And to that point, looking at them in the clutch this season, they're second in win percentage, third in total wins on the season in the clutch. One game behind Seattle, and Vegas is the number 1 team in clutch wins. Clutch wins compiled this season. They're right where they need to be. But in win percentage, the top 3 teams. If I had y'all guess what the top 3 teams in clutch win percentage were, what would y'all say? Just out of curiosity. I know I'm putting y'all on the spot, but this is a thought exercise we're doing together.
Can I guess the Valkyries?
They're not top 3. They're up there, but they're not top 3.
So it wasn't a bad guess.
No, not a bad guess.
Okay, period.
I mentioned Vegas already. Vegas is number 1 in win percentage in the clutch.
And then Atlanta.
Nope. Atlanta's struggled with fourth quarters like we've talked about.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Minnesota.
Darn.
So being in terms of execution, if we're talking about looking at what is copy and pastable to a playoff setting, it's those type of moments, execution in the clutch when it matters most. And again, second in offensive rating, 118.1 is nothing light in any capacity. That is major, because the ways that they play defense plays to the offense. And if they're not scoring in those moments, what good are the stops if you can't put the ball in the basket? So also third in net rating at 18.8. That's nothing to scoff at all. That's big time. And then the other big one is efficiency on the shots that they are creating. And they're third in true shooting percentage. The net rating and true shooting percentage are both numbers that are directly in that mix with, again, Minnesota and the Las Vegas Aces as far as that goes. So being able to perform well in the clutch, very important. Other clutch numbers that I had while putting the numbers together to have this graphic made. We talk about the defense and the rebounding. Defense is only as good as your rebounding. Your rebounding is only as good as your defense to put yourself in that position. They're first in defensive rebound percentage, meaning the percentage of misses that their opponents compile, they're grabbing the biggest percentage of that across the league in the clutch. 70.3% of the misses, they're corralling.
That's pretty good.
Which plays right into that offensive rating that we're talking about, because when they're playing in transition and they're playing a game on their terms, they're impossible to stop because they're getting the shots they want. AT is getting to the free throw line, and everybody else is getting the shots that they want. Additionally, with the rebounds and the playing into the offense, pace, number of possessions that you're playing over the course of a stretch of minutes, they have the highest pace by far in the clutch, meaning that when they're playing off of their stops and because of the turnovers that they can force opponents into, they're just compiling the possessions, and they're scoring and they're defending and all of those things. Also taking care of the ball at a second best rate. Also have the most threes made in the clutch. 18 threes made. I think it's one more than the second place team at this moment. And they're also third in 3-point percentage in the clutch at 36%. So all of these numbers are dominoes, one thing leading to another, organized and stemming from their identity on the defensive end of the floor.
Well, as you look at it, obviously they have to take care of New York tomorrow.
It's going to be a fun game.
I want to talk about it.
That'd be a fun game for sure. I know Sabrina missed their last game with, I think it was an ankle injury, if I remember correctly. So
I find it hard to feel bad for New York in their injury, thing, just because you did win the Emma Meeseman sweepstakes.
No, it's hard to feel bad for anybody's injury luck, because the Mercury have only had their starting lineup together for 15 games now.
And again, they won the Emma Meeseman sweepstakes.
There's no sorry.
Yeah, call me when I care, because then you will never call me. But no, this game is very important for seeding purposes, for clinching purposes, literally the whole 9 yards. This is a very important game for the Phoenix Mercury, especially in my opinion. And maybe this isn't even an opinion. Maybe this is just a fact. Steven can tell us after I'm done saying it. But with New York, they're 2-1 right now. So if they win the tiebreaker with New York, it matters just a little less that they were completely swept by the Atlanta Dream. Just a little. And like right now, I think the Dream is above New York in the standings still. Yeah.
Yeah, for standings purposes, I think you're 100% correct for standings purposes for sure, because that keeps the team off your back. You have more control over your
And that way, if
ultimate
there's
seeding.
ends up being a tie with New York,
Correct.
they beat them, blah, blah, blah.
Yep, correct.
And obviously with Atlanta, like they're still in a crap spot in a tiebreaker with that, and there's
Tie
nothing
right
they can
now.
do about it. Like there's
All
no
they can
going
do
back.
is win one more game than Atlanta does the rest of the way, because presently they're both tied at 24 and 14
sick.
at 3 and 4.
So I think that I'm of the opinion that tomorrow's game feels like the most important game left of the season. They play. I think they have to play Connecticut one more time, the Mystics one more time, the Wings one more time, and then there's one more. No, the Sparks. I know for sure.
They play the Fever on Tuesday.
Oh right, duh! How could I forget that?
The rest of the season goes Liberty, Fever, Mystics, Sun, Sparks, and then ending the season against the Wings. But yes, as far as direct matchups with teams that are in that tier of teams that you're in contention with, that top 5, this is your last matchup. This is the team that you've shown to have the answers to
over and over again, multiple
times. Can you do it again?
One team Nate Tibbetts is not scared of is the New York Liberty.
Well, and that's how it should be. You shouldn't be scared of anybody, but especially this New York Liberty team, the reigning champions, says a lot. They're going to be giving you their absolute best shot. They already have been as it was, and you've had answers for it. You have to bring it tomorrow. I'm excited to get into that game, because that's going to be one of those games of the year type of the magnitude for a regular season game. You talk about some games having a playoff atmosphere. This past post All-Star break stretch, I don't think there's going to be one that has had more than this one will be on Saturday, outside of the one that took place a few weeks ago against the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, I think if you haven't gotten a chance to come out to PHX Arena yet, this is the best opportunity to do so. It's on Saturday. Playoffs. Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for a better matchup. And yeah, you got the Sabley sister matchup of 2025. Like, it's just going to be a fun game. And obviously, you can see Steven and I there having a good old grand time. But I think I am expecting a Mercury victory. I think they're rolling right now. I don't think they're playing their best basketball yet, but I think that they're rolling in the right direction. And I think that this win over New York could be a huge confidence booster and could be the win at the right time. And now you're peaking at the right time type of win. And not that the rest of the schedule is easy per se. And I'm going to say it, like, the Sparks are not going to be an easy team to close out later. So I saw a comment about it earlier, but like, the Sparks are fighting tooth and nail for a playoff spot right now. If you think they don't want to win games, like, I would love to have whatever you're taking, because they want to win. And so like, they're going to be a really tough team to close out. But you know, as you have an opportunity versus top 5 team with the Liberty, you have an opportunity to win a game that could really matter for your seeding purposes, and you can do it at home, like on a Saturday versus the best fans in the WNBA. So I think that this is a winnable game for the Mercury. I'm expecting a win. I'm also expecting, to be honest, like, yesterday wasn't Satu Sabley's best game in a Mercury jersey by any means, but I'm expecting tomorrow to be a game where all 3 of the big 3 really put it together, and we see the full. I think we got to see it versus the Valkyries with the full big 3, like, kind of showing out. But I think tomorrow will be the game where you're playing top talent, and now you're seeing the big 3 kind of put it together.
That's what it's going to take, because Breanna Stewart is back, and all of a sudden the New York Liberty are immediately on a 2-game win streak. That's not by happenstance at all. This is a team that's very much in business mode right now. They understand what time in the season it is, and I think they all acknowledge that they haven't been playing their best basketball comprehensively this season. They also understand that they're far from that level of play that they were at that ultimately got them to win in the finals last season as well. And going up against a very contentious route to the finals before ultimately beating the Minnesota Lynx in the finals in deciding fashion in the final game. That's going to be something that, again, they have to be prepared for. New York is going to come more than prepared, and it's going to be It's going to be a game that's going to be very telling. It's one of those, like I said, those last kind of bookmark moments against those teams that are, in my opinion, the 5 teams that are truly contenders this season. You got to bring it. It's going to be fun to watch. Want to hear some fun numbers about this matchup with the Mercury and the Liberty this season. So obviously 3 games. The Mercury are 2-1. They've won 1 on the road and they've won 1 at home. Obviously lost 1 at home in that. What I want to pay attention to with this this little series, the New York Liberty are averaging 17 turnovers against the Phoenix Mercury. And we just got done talking about the turnover numbers. When they force their opponents into X amount of turnovers, they have a record and a win percentage that will be on par, if not the absolute best in the W. If they're not forcing the Liberty into turnovers and the Liberty are getting shots on goal time after time, that's not going to be a formula for success. They have too many good players that manipulate advantages too often. You have to be able to force those turnovers, the things that are most important to their defense, defending the paint, defending the three-point line, and forcing turnovers. To the three-point line part, New York Liberty are shooting 32% from the three-point line, only averaging 8 makes a game against the Phoenix Mercury. If they only make 8 or less in tomorrow's game, that's a game that the Mercury should probably win by 6 to 8 points. It probably enters the clutch, and they're able to kind of maneuver their way to the finish line and create a little bit of scoreboard separation. And then the other big thing, New York is not the best rebounding team. For the Mercury, that's something that they have to pounce on. That when you do force them to miss shots, you have to take advantage of transition. And that's something that they've done well in that season series against the New York Liberty.
I'm feeling very optimistic. I feel like after the vibes that I experienced last night in PHX Arena, not much can bring me down right now. I don't want to ever say her name in vain, but I don't know if y'all know that video of Gypsy Rose where she's like, can't nobody bring me down. That's how I feel about life right now after that Mercury dub. Goose of Gurulatitis. Great PHX-based podcast handle. Y'all can have Merc with a mouth. That's actually pretty funny. I won't lie. Sorry, I get caught up reading, but score predictions for tomorrow?
Yeah. I think this is going to be one of those close to 90-point games. I don't know if they get past 90. I'm going to go 87 to 84, 83, 87, 83 Mercury. So another game that goes into the clutch. You got to out-execute your opponents.
I'm going to go 91 to 87. What, you didn't like my singing?
I just couldn't interpret what number you said.
91. Sorry. Kevin doesn't like it when I sing on the show, I guess.
No, I heard 89 to 1, and I was like, that's not a score. I mean, I guess it is a score, but what was your final prediction?
91 to 87.
Okay.
Kevin's acting like he documents this. He doesn't. He probably should, but
I probably should. I should keep track. Damn. Next season, I'll keep track
go
of
back
the
and watch
score
all the
prediction
episodes,
records.
Mike.
Yeah,
man, that's a lot of episodes to watch. You better get to work.
He thought about it and he was like, yeah, it's not happening this season.
Well, because the odds that, like, what are the odds that one of us was right at any given moment? We'd all be like for a while. Unless
that attitude from Kevin, he doesn't really believe in us.
Well,
I believe in statistics.
I gotten some flack for picking the team to lose by what I was seeing, and it's happened a couple times.
Listen, I don't a score of all time exactly, Kobe. Seeing the prediction was awesome. See, she said Merc by a milli. See, I could just write songs about the Mercury, and then Kevin can produce the music videos.
I don't appreciate you gaslighting the chat into saying that I don't appreciate the singing. I just couldn't understand what you said, so I made a face like, oh, what is she saying? And you're like, oh, he hates the singing. Get rid of the singing. Kevin hates music. I don't hate music or singing.
Kevin hates fun. This
Bring
just
fun
in
and
on the
music to the
PHNX
pod.
Mercury podcast. Kevin hates fun. Be sure to leave a like, 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, because Kevin hates fun. So at least give me something to have fun with. Is there anything I'm forgetting to get to today?
I think we've cycled through everything as far as the things we had topic wise, setting the tone for, well, obviously speaking about yesterday's game, setting the tone for award races and this gotta have it game that's taking place tomorrow at PHX Arena.
There's something I haven't told you yet, Steven. And I did this on purpose. But yesterday, I was walking through PHX Arena with our guy, David Bernauer. Follow him on Twitter. I think it's just like David with a bunch of D's or something. But it is. I knew it. I was walking through the stairs. And David and I are, you know how I am. I'm yapping. I'm mid-conversation. And I'm walking up the stairs, and guess who starts walking down the stairs toward me?
You're walking up the stairs and
Yes.
someone walks down towards you?
Uh-huh.
Well, it definitely wasn't a player or coach. So I'm not sure who was that?
It was personal friend, Matt Ishbia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw him not at the game, but I saw him in the arena sitting in his seat with Josh Bartelstein. Yeah.
All I'm saying,
For sure.
and like
And he's pulling up to
Kevin
these
tried to
games.
tell me I was wrong, but I like to think that he was like, oh, that's the girl that told me to bring Satu here. I should say hi to her. Make sure she knows I know exactly who she is. I would gander. I guess just a guess, but maybe the only reason he even came on Southwest Bias is because he knew that Phoenix Mercury is such a humble believer of his. You know, I don't know. All I'm saying is that close personal friend. Good Lord, can I get words out of my mouth on this fine Friday morning? I don't know. But yeah, I think he just knew, and he just wanted to make sure that I knew that he knows that he's a friend of the show. So since you weren't there, I just wanted to let you know he probably did say hi to you too in theory. Because I am going to continue to lie to myself and say that he knew exactly who he was saying hi to, the Erika Day. And so, of course, he said hello to my counterpart, Stephen Pridgeon-Garner, as well.
Well, what I'll say is if he noticed and acknowledged who you were, and hopped on Southwest Bias 2 weeks ago now, it was because he sees that we do the work and he sees that we cover the team thoroughly. That set the tone for everything else that came in communication that led to that point and other points that we're speaking to now. But yeah, shout out to Matt for not making it about him when he shows up to the game too, because we've seen that happen with other owners before, and that's not what it should be. He's very much blending in, even though people know who he is when he's walking around because of who he is.
I'll see people like wave at him, try to talk to him, and he's like not interested. He's like, I'm here to actually watch basketball just like you guys.
Sure. No, he's personable with it, but he's making sure that he's not the main subject because he understands that that's not what it's about. But what it is about is supporting, not just monetarily, but actually pulling up and being a presence.
I get hype every time I see him in the arena. I just think it's a fun vibe. It's even, and like, I know it's not a word. Okay, so before I say it, don't come at me in the comments. But the vibe gets like 10 times funner as soon as Matt Ishbia is in the building. Maybe I'm wrong.
He's a very high energy individual, and his energy is very contagious.
I would, a lot of people will ask like, oh, if you could have lunch with two people dead or alive, who would? Vince and Matt Ishbia. I need it together right now. Maybe throw Josh in there for poops and giggles, But Vince, I watch him the whole game. The dude, as red as my shirt is, got nothing on how Vince is during those games.
Locked in. I don't know if he ever sits down. Every time I look over at him, that man is standing up and he is pointing or chanting or
yelling,
clapping and inducing cheers from the people in the crowd that are sitting next to where he sits at games. That dude is locked in. I don't know how he wears a suit to games.
I just genuinely, I don't know how the hair stays on his head because you see his head like start to swell because he gets so like worked up.
For sure.
Like I just feel like he gives himself a headache every game. I know I'm exhausted from my drives to and fro, but that guy he puts himself through the ringer multiple times per week. Yeah. I can't imagine him during sun season because there's so many more games. Like, is dude okay? Like Vince, if you're watching this, props to you. You make sure the rest stay in line.
A top tier viewer of a game. I don't want to call him a fan because his job title does not suggest that he's a fan, but he has a presence in the arena as well. And I think people have acknowledged that too. And even Nick gets involved in games when he's sitting courtside. I know sometimes he's not always sitting courtside, but he's in the arena. They're very much engaged in the game. They're not just there passively sitting back, like chilling, watching games. No, they're very engaged, and that means a lot.
They're not there to have like rich men conversations. They're there to watch basketball, which is what you want to see from your owner and executive, group leading the way. Well, we will be back with you guys actually on Tuesday for a post-game show after the Fever game. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a fun post-game show. I think it's going to be a fun game. I can't imagine that Caitlin continues to not play throughout the rest of the season.
She might be done.
But she might be. So I'm hoping that she's not, just because, like, I didn't get to see her play in her sophomore season. What the heck? Like, I got to see Angel last night.
Blame the schedule.
Yeah, it's criminal, but whatever. I just work here.
Second to last home game of the season will be on Tuesday. So if you've been hearing us say get out to a game, you're running out of time.
The tickets are not expensive.
They got 3 home games left, and the first of 3 is tomorrow.
You can't get a Matt Ishby a $2 hot dog unless you step in the arena.
And I promise you, the late bloomers coming around to Mercury or women's basketball will be heavily in attendance for playoff games. So that's not a surefire moment for you to get out to one. So I advise going to get out to one of these last 3 home games.
Well, we appreciate y'all. Be sure to leave a like, a thumbs up, 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on Twitter together at PHNX_Mercury. You can follow him at StephenPG3. You can follow me at Erika Lee Day. You can also follow our lovely producer Kevin at Kevo Post, or you can see him later today on the PHNX Wildcat Show, even though that's actually not what we call it at all. AZ Wildcats Podcast. My bad, everybody. But we will see you guys next Tuesday.
We all silly like the mayor.